Good evening. I'm Courtney Graham with the Engagement Department at the Art Institute of Chicago. Welcome to this evening's virtual program on the exhibition Cosmoscapes, Ink Paintings by Tai Xiangzhou. We're so glad to have you joining us virtually, and while we wish that we could welcome you in person, we hope this digital format can offer a chance to stay connected to the Art Institute from home. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our speakers. Artist and scholar Tai Xiangzhou and Tao Wang, Pritzker Chair of the Arts of Asia, Curator of Chinese Art, and Executive Director of Initiatives in Asia. Xiangzhou's monochromatic ink paintings transcend distinctions between the traditional and the innovative. We also welcome Yi Sao, Director of Curatorial Administration for the Arts of Asia, who will be translating for us today. Thank you all for being here, and now I turn things over to Tao.
Thank you, Courtney. That's a very good introduction, and so I would not kind of waste much time to say welcoming everyone, even in such beautiful day. I wish I could kind of welcome everyone at the museum and to tour you the exhibition, but exhibition opened today, and I went in this morning and walked through, and I'm being astonished. I mean, the actual works now, you see them in the situ at the Art Institute, and it's a beautiful installation. So I really want to encourage everyone to go to see it. So before I start to have a conversation with the artist Tai Xiangzhou, I want just to answer a few questions. First is, why do we want to do this particular exhibition? And of course, I will also share with you some video clips and interviews with the artist, and then we can do live stream questions and answers. So why do we want to do Tai's exhibition? I met Tai must be 10 years ago. And then Tai's relationship with the Art Institute started 2015. When the director then, Douglas Druk, we went to Beijing, we visited Tai's studio. I can clearly remember on Douglas' face, when he first saw Tai's paintings, he said, oh, we got to have one of his paintings. That's how we, I think just the time was perfect. Tai had an exhibition in New York, and we managed to acquire one of the most representative works from Tai. Since then, Tai, of course, made many contributions to our exhibitions, such as the Mirroring China's Past, the bronze show I did in 2018, and the Tai's painting of this most important Chinese bronze was at the very end of the show, if you can still remember that show. But without much delay, I just want to say Tai's art really opens a door or a window for us to see the long tradition in China developed into modern days. We can clearly see his techniques, his format, the media he used are very much tied together with the tradition. But at the same time, we find a new language, a new way of image making in his art. That's what we want to present to our audience. Because through this window, you can actually see, even under today's situation, we're all kind of very much kind of isolated by pandemic, but we still think further. We think about our situation. We also think about the future of mankind. When we look into the cosmology, I think not just to give us a relief, but also offer us some fruitful thought of what kind of a world we want to be in the future. So may I have my next slide, please? Talking about tradition or traditional Chinese painting, no doubt the 12th century masters such as Fan Kuan would be high on the list. And the Tai studied Fan Kuan's painting closely, and we can see he actually almost got into the skin of Fan Kuan, tried to imitate his brush stroke and his method of using the ink. But at the same time, we can clearly see a departure from the master. This painting on the left is Tai's work in imitation of landscaping in the style of Fan Kuan. On the right is Fan Kuan's original painting, now in the National Palace Museum in Taipei. And this is probably the most important painting in Chinese history. So we can see Tai started on a very high departure. Next one, please. This is another classical style painting by Tai, imitating or follow Fan Kuan's style. On the right, you can see Fan Kuan's original painting. I have to say that's probably originally also a screen, because in the Song Dynasty, people do paint large screen paintings, but later on being remolded into hanging scrolls. And the Tai, if you look at on the left painting, you can clearly see the mountain formation followed exactly Fan Kuan's model. In a way, Fan Kuan was painting his own hometown landscape. And the Tai, to create this painting, Tai also went to the place in Shanxi, Tongchuan, and looked closely of the mountain formations. And here, I think we find a very interesting expansion of the painting itself by adding 2 more panels on the side. Actually, these panels can be adjusted to an angle. So if you are looking, I mean, in our museum now, we put it on flat on the wall. But I remember when I first saw this painting, Tai had it slightly curved, so make you feel like you are in some kind of a surrounding of the mountain. A very powerful image. And you can see in the mountains, there are temples and waterfalls, but this very clearly human figure is not the center of the painting, but the landscape, the mountains and the water, which is something we can see through Chinese history, but also see the spirit of landscape painting revived in Tai's creation. Next one, please. There's 2 hand scroll paintings. Many of you may not familiar with this format. It's a hand scroll, a very long, usually over 2 meters long, but height usually is 40 centimeters height. So you can roll it up and roll it open. The viewing of hand scrolls usually is from right to left. So you open it slowly, and you look at section by section, and then you got into the final stop, usually by inscriptions. And clearly you can see here, both hand scrolls have inscriptions on your left hand. So that is when you open the painting slowly and get yourself, like your perspective just to follow the movement of the hand, eventually you get into the final philosophical discourse of landscape. And the first one, the top one, I would say, actually was inspired by 10th century master Dong Yuan. We actually have the original painting. It's Dong Yuan and Xu Daolin. I think that's the school. It's very much have this, we call different perspectives of the Chinese landscape. And you have some really impressive paintings in both China and the United States. Nelson Atkins Museum of Art has one of Xu Daolin's paintings very much in the same style. And below that, the bottom one is also very interesting. It's a depiction of a mountain in China, Yandan Mountain in Zhejiang. We, in our collection, in the Art Institute of Chicago collection, we have 2 hand-scroll paintings of the same mountain. But here we are not illustrating them. Actually, that's a future exhibition of Yandan Mountain. We hope to bring a 17th century painting, 19th century painting, and Tai's modern contemporary painting together to see how the perception and expression changed over the course of last 300 years. Next one, please. We have, for this show, we have 13 groups of representative works from Tai. And this is one of them called Shui Tu, or Cosmic Symphony, Wang Dali. Tai made a very elegant classical name for it. But the whole series, inspired by a Southern Song master, 13th century, called Water series. You can see the original painting now is on your left by Ma Yuan, 12th to 13th century, who painted water. Its album consists of 25 paintings of water. And Tai, this time, he increased the number to 36. But not just increasing the number, he also expanded the visual language of classical Chinese painting. These 36 paintings, they have some very similar to the Song masters, 13th century, 12th century painting, but he also, by using a new technique and a new perspective, he created light, reflection, and again, we can look at 2 more. Next slides, please. As you can see here, the rocks and flying in the sky. Tai is an artist with some unique background. He has written a book on Chinese landscape, his philosophy of Chinese landscape painting. So he studied Chinese philosophy at a great length. And that's also coming to his understanding of fundamentalness of modern science. He sees materials like stone, water, clouds, they all transform into different forms in a new space. So this water series, or Cosmic Symphony, really is trying to bring all the sounds from different parts of universe, not just Earth, the environment we know of, but also the moon, the Mars. The modern science have given Tai inspiration too. So that is a very unique among Chinese ink artists. I have to say the technique is just amazing. It's if you come to see the original, you can see very subtle use of ink on silk, and the shades and the wash, it's just almost perfect. Next one, please. Let's just give you some background. I think every visitor would want to know what before the exhibition opened behind the scene. So this is a couple of slides just to show you. It's a lot of hard work, every hanging and every just of the light, everything takes extreme care to achieve the result we really want to bring. And that's all departmental specialist and technician, Annette and Charlie. We spent the whole last week hanging this 13 groups of works. And the painting they are hanging is in gallery 134. And you just saw a slide with 2 panels already in view, but this is before it's complete. So you can see it's a lot of work. Okay, next one, please. Again, this time we really made a great use of the favorite Ando gallery. Tai has created 2 large paintings. One consists of 4 panels. The other one consists 9 panels. 9 panels is named a parallel universe. That's on your right hand. And you can see it's just perfectly fit in the space. And that's, I would say it's perfect space, because when Ando, the world famous architect, created the space, he wanted to have a spotlight on Oriental screens, paintings. And you can see this dark pillows made of wood, actually almost like the in Chinese mythology, the heaven is coming down, but these pillows supporting the universe. And this black and white large paintings, screen paintings, they just look perfect in the space. And that's astonishing, breathtaking. And it's great shame the artist Tai can't be here to see the opening. I managed to send him some photographs I taken with my cell phone. And I'm not a professional photographer, but just with my cell phone, you can already see the effect of that display. It's just really powerful. Next one, please. So now I want just to have a very short 6 minutes video show of Tai works in his studio. Let's look at the video, please.
所以回头来跟宋人学习，这是一个相辅相成的过程。就宋人对于自然的观察呢是细致入微的，就水的任何一个空气的流动，任何一种呼吸，马远他都能够把握到。可能只有一半很锐利，像是固体的，另外一半可能就消失了，消失在云里面。这也是我刻意，或者说在我的创作过程中间，思想和这个笔墨自然而然就形成了一套转换的关系。绢的这种神秘性，然后呢水在绢上的这种流动性，它会形成一些特殊的结构。所有观念的前瞻性体现在就是哲学和科学、艺术和科学的相结合上。我觉得在今天这个时间呢，只有古今，就是古代和当代，没有东方和西方，因为我们其实生活在一个世界里面，我们面对的所有的事情是一种文化。因为今天坐飞机从北京到纽约只需要10几个小时，所以我们其实生活在一个非常被压缩的一个空间里面。那在这样的空间下，我们怎么样来表现我们的艺术，就变得特别的有趣。那在这样的情况下呢，就是说我们有的时候反而要思考，我们人是从哪里来，我们的人又要到哪里去。在这样的时间和空间里面呢，我们表现呢，就更加要回到一个灵魂的深处去体现我们的艺术。作为一个生活长在中国的一个艺术家，那我的语言其实基本的语言就是毛笔，还有纸和绢，还有墨。那我用这种语言呢，表达的其实是一个这个时代的，我认为是这个时代的人的一个共同的思想和追求。那就像电影里面，我们知道那个电影《Gravity》，它表达的也是我们人和这个宇宙的一些关系。那我想在我的这个创作里面，其实跟很多哲学家或者说具有未来思想的一些电影的导演或者说编剧，跟他们的思想是可以完全沟通的。那作为一个你使用这个毛笔的一个艺术家，你一定要知道你的传统，你能够学习到在这种工具和材料之下所能表达的一个最高的技术。这样的话，你在创作的时候才能够真正把你的思想表达出来。所以呢，我的画面里面的所有的技术，如果别人来看的话，都觉得它是一个古代的技术。就像那个朱清生教授，他说我这个画是古代的画，跟今天没有关系，所以他不认为我是当代艺术。 所以很多学者其实他们脑子是很僵化的，他看到我的画，认为我这个画是宋朝的画，因为用的所有的技术是宋朝的画。但实际上我是生活在今天的一个人，那只有超越了某种限制思想，你才能够知道今天的艺术家可以用一个当代的思想，用古代的技术创作一个完全全新的当代艺术的图像。因为在我的这个头脑里面，当代艺术是未来艺术。所谓当代艺术，不是今天简单的仅仅是政治的讨论，或者说文化的对抗。在我的这个世界里面，当代艺术是未来的。你对今天的人会产生什么样的启示？那只有过了很多年，我们回想起来，才知道那些人创造了什么。否则的话，就像一个媒体的新闻事件一样的。其实我们昨天发生的事情，今天发生的事情，到明天很多人就忘记了。但是如果你能够思考到，我们人类在这个阶段，我们要思考一些什么问题？我们的哲学家、我们的科学家，他们在思考什么样的问题？我们要创造什么？我们能给今天的人带来什么？在今天呢，就说的我们的这个文化交流啊，已经非常的容易。所以呢，在我来讲呢，就是说我的这个艺术呢，也是艺术作品啊，也有很多这个西方的画廊在帮我这个在代理经营，也有很多西方的博物馆收藏。那在这种交流过程中间呢，自然而然的我会选择就是一个新的这个 format， 就像这个三个屏风，它既是好像中国传统的屏风，又像西方的很多这个油画的当代油画的一个表现形式。所以这样的表现形式在今天呢，因为大家的生活非常的相似，就像你们住在这个北大的 hotel 里面，它跟纽约的 hotel 其实没有什么差别，就是生活空间是一样的。所以在这样的生活空间下，你的作品自然要符合这个时代的一些特点。我想这个还是我刚才说的一个文化，就是说你要超越这个文化的一个时代，就像我们说这个爱因斯坦发明了 E 等于 mc2， 它的一个相对论的公式，它是对这个世界的描述。但我们知道这个公式呢，可能在今天已经需要更大的一个新的突破。我想全世界的这个科学家和哲学家都在思考一个新的描述世界的公式。就像我现在我的图像，我必须要使用我自己的一个语言，就是我熟悉的一个语言，也就是我的技术。那我所要描绘的实际上是代表未来的，我对未来的一个思考。就像我这个图像里面，你看起来像一个传统的山水画，但是呢，在我的图像里面呢，这些石头呢，它好像是固体的，又好像是气体的，又好像是液体的，它可以漂浮在空中。它完全不在这个世界里面，而且它这种固体、液体、气体感觉是它可以自由转换的。因为我画的很多的石头，故意画的这个边界很模糊，它好像是不断的在变化中间的一个现状。这就是我对于世界的这种不确定性的这种认识。我想我们今天在探索的很多的事情都没有一个固定的答案。那在这种没有固定答案的情况下，你只有不断的思考，不断的去寻找。
Okay, thank you, Tai. Now we want to bring a conversation, it's live stream conversation. So I have prepared a few very simple questions I want to ask Tai before we start a question and answers. And E, we thank you. E will also act as a translation for Tai. So my first question to Tai is that, can you please tell us in a very brief way how you become an artist?
香洲老师，您能否和我们分享一下，简单的分享一下，您是如何成为一名艺术家的吗？
这个就是说，其实跟很多小孩子一样，就是我呢从小呢就喜欢画画，就是一出生吧，就我们家长都会把毛笔啊，或者说一些绘画的材料就交给这些小朋友。我也是一样的，但我呢从5岁开始呢，因为家学的原因吧，就我父亲呢就开始教我学习这个中国书法。 也给我找到了很好的老师，所以之后呢，也就跟中国的书画吧，就是结下了这一生的这种缘分。所以，但是工作以后呢，我一开始呢也是做设计的工作，一直到2005年呢，我认识了清华大学的这个绘画系的包林教授。我当时就问他，因为我有一个很困惑的问题，就是作为一个喜欢画画的人呢，那为什么我们要创作美术作品，要来从事这个职业？要来画画，所以呢，他呢就告诉我，他说这是一个很深的一个哲学问题。他说虽然我是学哲学的，但是我也很难回答清楚你这个问题。说你最好能有兴趣的话，你就来跟我读博士，来自己来解答这个问题。那我也是从2006年呢，我到清华大学的美术学院绘画系去读博士学位。那在这个清华做研究的过程中间呢，慢慢的找到了我自己的，就是给我自己作为一个职业艺术家的答案吧。那慢慢的也就成为，就是2006年以后吧，可以说我这个下定决心也是成为了一个职业的艺术家，一直到今天啊。
So it's like a lot of little kids. So I actually love to draw when I was first born, and many parents in China, they would just give paint brushes and different pieces of paper for the kids to start to do some painting and drawings. And since I was 5 years old, my dad introduced me to calligraphy, and he actually invited a really good teacher to teach me calligraphy. And after that, I think I became attached to painting for my whole life. But actually, what I did for work was design. And it was not until 2025 that I met Professor Bao Lin from Tsinghua University. And I asked him, because I was being confused about this question, so why do people paint and draw pictures? And he told me that this is a philosophical question, and you better do a PhD with yourself to solve it. And then after 2006, I made up my mind to become a professional artist. And during my research, and I did get a PhD. And finally, I was on my way looking for the answers, and to this day.
Thank you. It's a great answer. It's actually something very special about Tai. You know as a scholar painter, which in traditional China we know as literati painter. All great painters, many of them are great scholars. But most interestingly, your subject, your learning is actually started from your painting experience, and then trying to solve that question, and at the same time you become a professional artist. So that is actually a very unique path. You are not like trained in an art school as an artist, but through your own thinking or pursuing of, like you said, a philosophical question, you become a professional artist. So it's a very interesting path. My second question, you clearly see yourself as a contemporary artist, but what is the main difference between you and those artists who work in other format and media, such oil paintings, sculpture, installation, or new media? Many of them are very much like a Western type of painting, but yourself, even you said something in your interview, but can you elaborate on that?
第二个问题是说，您很明确的把自己定位成一位当代艺术家。那么与其他的一些当代艺术家主要以油画、雕塑、装置或者新媒体的一些媒介方式来创作，您能不能跟我们讲一下，您觉得在您和他们之间最大的区别是什么？
那我呢认为每一个艺术家呢都有自己的思想和表达的形式吧。那作为我来讲呢，就是说，就像我刚才讲的，我从小呢一出生家里面就有毛笔， 那我看到的第一个作为书写的工具或者绘画的工具就是毛笔，这是与生俱来的，就像我们今天使用英文跟中文两种语言对话一样。那我如果用英文表达呢，可能就没有办法完整的表达我的思想和这个意图吧。但是我用中文就可以相对来说说的比较清楚一点。所以在使用媒材方面，我用这个笔墨纸砚，更加的能够完整的表达我自己想要表达的内容。所以说呢，就是说你熟练了掌握一种语言或者一种媒材，这是你的一个创作的这个基本的必要条件。所以，至于说用新媒体或者说用装置艺术来做这个艺术创作，这个其实在我看都是一样的。
So just like how I answered for the first question, and because when I was born, right after I was born, and I was given paint and brushes to do some drawings. So I really think that many different artists have their own kind of ways to use their artistic media. And just like how we speak Chinese and English. And as an artist who has seen a brush since I was born, I can express my thoughts more completely by using ink and paper. So I think it's the most important thing. And for artists that are using new mediums and installation as their artistic approach, I think they are all the same, because only when you have mastered a language or a medium, you can fully express your own thoughts.
Thank you. That's very interesting because yeah, you say brush and ink and silk and paper. This kind of a medium used in China for over thousands of years, and then now kind of continued into your own practice. But my proposal, kind of another question is, this technique or this language does affect your expression, the mode of your representation, because we can see clearly you, through the understanding of the material, you seem to get to some level which other artists have not reached.
好像确实是因为您通过一些这种有益于其他一些艺术家所用的媒介，比如说纸笔或者笔墨，然后您所想要传达的一些艺术思想确实有所不同。
Yeah, my point is that maybe by using this material, you actually somehow connect yourself to China's long tradition, because you are not like working on oil painting, which introduced in China less than 200 years. So you crossed this kind of many gaps, kind of connect yourself with the ancient masters.
其实我说的刚才说的所说的意思是说是因为您是用这个笔墨进行创作的，这样就有益于其他那些使用别的媒介的艺术家而言，更好的能够与中国传统的一些文化更好的相连接，然后这样把一些古今的这些鸿沟，然后全都更好的连接起来了。
Yeah, okay, you don't have to answer that. Maybe, or you can answer after my third question is related. Because unlike a Western artistic tradition that is centered around fictive painting or fictive representation, but your work is very much what we call shanshui, landscape, or in the term you invented yourself, cosmoscape. Why?
第三个问题想问您的是，不同于以人物画为主体的西方艺术传统，您的作品更侧重于山水啊、风景，还有宇宙景观。您能不能为我们解释一下是为什么？
我想呢，就是说，无论是东西方的艺术家呢，他都是通过这个就是绘画作品来呈现自己对世界的这种认识，包括世界的发展变化呀，或者说先知先觉呀。比如说西方的 人物绘画呢，它主要是通过叙事的这种方式呢，来表达思想和观念。它从中世纪到当代呢，逐步从宗教的这种图式转向了这种个人的这种就是比较有个性的这种表达和觉醒吧。这也是西方的一个主要的脉络。但是我们这个东方的绘画呢，就是尤其是山水呢，则是通过一种场景来构造一个精神的彼岸世界。就是说，就像石涛讲的说，笔墨当随时代吧。所以山水呢，在历史的各个不同时期呢，也呈现出来不同的这种图式风格。但根本上来讲呢，就是说，山水实际上就是说，比如说我们盖一个房子是人住的，但是我们的山水画呢，可能是给人的精神的居住的一个住所吧。因为文明的这种发展啊，技术的不断的进步，所以人类对这个精神居所的定义呢，也随着时代在变化。像19世纪以来呢，技术不断的在更新，所以当我们像珠穆朗玛峰这样的高山已经都不再神秘的时候，我们再去画一些真的山水的话，就变得就不能够表达一种精神居所的这种哲学寓意了。这也是我后来去创作这个天象图式的一个主要的原因。那还要说明一点，就是说我们中国的所有的艺术家也好，不管是我们的这个文人也好，都会这个铭记司马迁的几句话，就是说作为一个中国的文化人吧，都是讲究要究天人之际，通古今之变，成一家之言。就是说，只有你掌握了古代所有的这些技术，然后呢，能够了解到古今的，不管是社会的还是技术的变革，你才能够创造出来自己的一套表现形式和语言。
So no matter they are Eastern or Western artists, they all want to present their own foresight or ideas of the trend on how the world is developing and changing through their own works. And the Western figural painting mainly expresses the idea and conception of painting in the way of narrative from the Middle Ages to the contemporary period. Western figural painting gradually shifted from religious schema to individuals' awakening and expression. While on the other hand, the Oriental landscape painting is to construct a spiritual world through the natural scene. Just as the Ming Dynasty painter Shi Tao said, paintbrush and ink should follow the times, which means the paintbrush and ink should always change through the times. And landscape painting also presents different schematic styles in different periods of Chinese history, but it is fundamentally a human spiritual home because of the development of civilization and the progress of technology. People have different definitions of spiritual residence. And since the 19th century, with the progress of technology, human means of transportation have been carried forward. So making the real mountains and real waters no longer mysterious, just like the Jumulama peak, that no one could get to the top of it. But with all the technology, is no longer mysterious. And this is the reason why I create landscape paintings in the form of celestial or cosmological images.
Right, thank you. My last question is actually very much about yourself. Since the pandemic started a year ago, we have been living in very much isolated condition, and we can't really see each other, and or the way of communication has totally changed. So can you just tell us how have you been coping this situation? What you've been doing? I know in China, pandemic situation is different from here. So you have been able to move around, doing exhibitions, or what's kind of a situation or everyday situation you are in now?
最后一个问题可能偏个人化一点，就是 自从新冠的影响嘛，然后想问一下，对您的生活或者创作有什么影响？是您是有进行了哪些创作呀，或者办了哪些展览？能不能为我们分享一下？
自从就是从2020年的1月开始呢，因为有了新冠，所以那个时候对这个生活影响是蛮大的，就不敢出门。但不敢出门呢，就创作的机会呢就变得更多。所以在2020年的就上半年到6月份之前呢，实际上对我来说是一个也是一个很幸运的一个创作的时间。但这里面呢也有很多新的思考。也做了一些新的这个创作的尝试。那将来呢，就是大家也会在不同的展览里看到我这个2020年以后新的这个创作风格。那另一方面就是从2020年的下半年开始呢，就是有很多，因为大家已经在中国的疫情呢相对来说就比较稳定了，所以有很多机会能够让我去办一些展览。所以在798，还有在这个在去年的11月份，我在798做了一个个展，然后在今年的3月份又在澳门，今年过年的时候2月份在澳门又做了一个个展啊。那现在是一个新的展览。当然，在1月份呢，2021年的1月份呢，还跟王老师有一个连线，在上海，我们有一个对话，在上海的佳士得空间。
So actually, it's a great opportunity for me to create more works, to develop more new thinkings and new ideas for my works that I'm going to create. For the, I think after the pandemic in China is relatively stable. So I have been able to move around to do some exhibitions, just like in 2020, the later part, and I did in November, I did a show in the 798 art district in China. And also March, just this year, I did one show in Macau and in, or February too. So, and back in January, I also did an online virtual talk with Mr. Wang and in Shanghai. So I think you can look forward to my newer paintings after this very important year, 2020.
Thank you, Tai. Thank you, Yi. That's really nice. And I think now we are open for questions. Connie, right?
Yes, thank you so much. We absolutely have some time for just a couple of quick questions. The first question we have is, can you tell us a little about how the ink is applied to silk and perhaps how that might be different from canvas or another material?
第一个问题想问您一下，您能不能具体的给大家介绍一下，就是这个用墨水如何在这个绢本上边着色的，相对于在油画的画布上啊，这些西方的方式有什么不一样的地方？
因为这个中国的这个墨啊，它在制造的时候它是墨定是磨的，刚才那个 video 里面已经有我那个磨墨的图像。那么这个在墨的制造过程中间里面就含胶，所以胶水呢，它这个能够把这个墨很好的附着在这个绢本上。那这个其实跟那个 canvas 区别不太大。那另外就是说绢的处理上，也是有的时候我们也会加一些涂层，所以跟那个 canvas 要加涂层是一样的。
So you could see a little bit in the previous video. I was making the ink, and it contains glue. So I actually need to layer it on the silk a little bit, just like how you do it on canvas.
May I just also kind of add that Tai has studied the making silk and the paper and the ink and the brush himself. So he has been very selective and has great understanding of this material. So that's also make his painting very fine.
Thank you. Our next question, this guest would like to know what kinds of literature you read and do you write poetry?
下一个问题是想问您说，您对于在文本的参考上，您读一些哪些的著作，哪些作品给您启发？还有您自己写诗吗？这位观众比较好奇。
我这个读的文本来说呢，就是早期的文献是比较多的。另外就是说，考古的材料，包括互联网的发展，就各个方面的文本，我都是喜欢来读的。但是现在不会去写诗的，更多的是一些思考，有的时候会写一些论文，和这个绘画相关系的一些论文。
Yeah, I often read some earlier archaeological text and some literature about the traditional culture. And I don't do a lot of poems anymore, but I write a lot of dissertations on this subject matter.
That's perfect because someone did ask if the dissertations are available in English.
下一位观众想问的是，您之前刚才提到的那个您的论文有没有英文版本，或者是在哪能看到，在哪能下载或者阅读？
有一些英文的跟一些就是美国学者的对话会有一些英文的。那这次的展览图录也是英文的。那我自己以前参加过一些这个论坛，有的时候这些论文会翻译成英文，但是具体的下载地址我还是真不知道。就是跟那个包花石老师的有一个访谈，是在那个就是史密斯学会的网站上可以看到。
Right. I need to add a note here. Though the Art Institute is not producing like a catalog as such, there is going to be a catalog, but it's with the scholarly contributions from Martin Powers, Colin McKenzie, Xin Ran, and myself. We write about Thai's art. So it's not exactly just the same like a catalog. It's going to be a monograph. The book is being produced in London by a art publisher, Safon. But we actually was hoping the book would be ready soon, by now. But the pandemic, particularly in London, changed everything. They had to shut down, and so it's delayed. But hopefully we should have the book within a short period of time. In English, it's published in English.
Thank you, Tai. Did you want to translate Tai's response? Thank you.
Yeah, Tai said that even though the dissertation was not translated in English at the full length, but I had been doing a lot of interviews with the American scholars and a lot of articles written about the dissertation. And also, like Tao mentioned, there will be a catalog that's about the show and also my practice and the dissertation content as well.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you so much, Tai, Tao, and Yi. I think this is all we have time for tonight. Thank you all for joining us for this program. As you may already know, the museum reopened last month. The show opened today, and the exhibition has been extended through September 20th. So we hope that many of you will get a chance to see the work in person. For more information on upcoming virtual events, please visit us online at artic.edu and look for our monthly e-news in your inboxes. We look forward to seeing you again soon.